In 1904, a Jewish couple made their way to the United States, Isidore and Dora Erlich. They came to New York and stayed there briefly and then worked their way down to Colorado. This is around 1904, 1906. By 1912, and here is one of those stories that tells us that life always makes sure that we're always where we're supposed to be. Isidore was trying to find business opportunities, and so he took a train from Colorado down to Los Angeles, California, where he was gonna seek out something to do. However, tragic rains, and they washed out the railroad. He was diverted, his train was diverted down through Albuquerque, and eventually he ended up in El Paso. He was so exhausted from his journey that he ended up spending the night at the Orndorff Hotel. The Orndorff Hotel is what is now the Cortez building, so he was across from the San Jacinto Plaza. At that time, across from that plaza, you used to find the Silberberg Jewelers. There, he made friends with them, and he got a job as a watchmaker there. He was getting paid $35 a week, which at the time was actually really good living. So he was able to afford to bring his family down to El Paso and live right there. There, Jacob Reuben Erlich, otherwise known as Jake Erlich, grew up here. Jacob was actually one of the world's tallest men. He stood at 8 feet 6 inches. Now, he was born in June 29, 1906. He was a Cancer. So Jake was always on his feelings and he didn't want to get picked on. This alleyway we're standing on, this is how he made his way to school. We're about 3-4 blocks away from El Paso High School where he went to school. He made sure that he didn't take any of the main streets. He would go through the alleys, the side streets. Jake Erlich was actually a member of the ROTC in El Paso High and a member of the band, and at some point even led the parades. He eventually kind of started to grow into the fact that he was gonna stand out. He was taller than most. But his dad knew that, there was bouts of depression that his son went through. So to cheer him up, he took him deep sea fishing down in California, and there, the directors from Centro Studios offered him a contract to be an actor. Jake became famous at that point. He filmed over 48 silent films and was world-renowned. However, on set, at some point, he fell off some scaffolding, and that led to him getting the bad news that he had a pituitary gland tumor. He was losing his vision. His Hollywood career was over, and he was back in El Paso. His vision did come back. It was treated with x-rays, and he actually was able to make a full recovery. Not long after that, the Ringling Brothers offered him a job. He became the tallest circus member in the world. He went from circus to circus, but around 1940, he decided that he wasn't afraid of dying, he said, but he didn't want to die in a tent. He quit the circus life and he published a book. He published a book called Tall Shadows, and this was his poetry book. He, at that point, became more immersed into his more creative side, and this is where we know that Jake had so many aspects to him that, as his nephew said, him being tall was the least of the characteristics that stood out. He was a poet, he was a photographer, he was a writer, he was a sculptor, he was a painter. He did it all, a creative all around. In 1952, Jake came back to El Paso to build a special home for himself. It had 9-foot ceilings and reinforced furniture. He did grow to weigh about 370 pounds. Jake was an example of a man and was often seen in this very street playing football with the kids in the neighborhood. Though his life was short, Jake Erlich accomplished more than most could dream of. He became a Hollywood star, traveled the world. He became a circus performer. He was an acclaimed painter, acclaimed photographer, a beloved salesman, and inspired everyone he met. In the end, what seemed to be destined to be a story of tragedy became a story of incredible triumph. Jake turned adversity into artistry, loneliness into friendship, and ridicule into joy.